Okay, Unit 2, Lesson 1. We're going to be learning about the 13 colonies. We have learned so far about Europe exploring North and South America. Now we're going to talk about the 13 colonies established by the British government in North America, which will eventually become the United States. So we have your lesson objective for today. By the end of this lesson, you can explain the different areas or regions of the British 13 colonies, and this is what will eventually become the United States of America after the American Revolution. Pay attention to your lesson must-dos. Your first must-do is watching this video and completing guided notes. Then the Google slide practice on the 13 colonies and your mastery check. There is also a should do and Edpuzzle on the establishment of the 13 colonies. So we can divide the 13 colonies into three geographic regions. We have the New England colonies, the middle colonies, and the southern colonies. So you can see here with this map over here on the right, those are the total 13 colonies. Florida is not a 13 colony. It was actually under Spanish control at this time. So the 13 colonies are established at different times in different ways. There were different systems of government used within the 13 colonies, but all of the colonies, a colony is like, England owns them, but they are places across the Atlantic Ocean. All of the systems of government elected their own legislature, which means their own government. So they were all very democratic, actually. They had a governor, a governor's court, a court system. And we can divide the government systems into three different kinds also. We have royal colonies, charter colonies, and proprietary colonies. So a royal government is where the royal colonies were ruled directly by the English monarchy, the king or queen of England at the time. A proprietary government is one where the king gave land to people in North America and then they formed their own colonies. An example of this would be like Maryland, that was established as a proprietary government. The charter governments, the charter colonies were generally self-governing and their charters were granted to the colonists. So Virginia and Massachusetts would be an example of those. So the northern colonies, also known as the New England colonies, there were four: New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. The people who settled and lived in the New England colonies were from England. Their economy, which an economy is what they do to make money, to be successful. They farmed, but it was difficult because of the poor soil. So families grew enough food to feed themselves, but there was trade because of its closeness to the ocean and also manufacturing, making things. Obviously, we live in Massachusetts. We live in the New England colony. So, the climate here, it's colder than the other two regions. And that will have a dependency on what they do for their economy. Geographically, the colonies of New England, mostly hills, very rocky. So, what are our natural resources here? Fish, whales, because we're close to the ocean, trees, and also furs, like beaver fur, was very popular at this time. Religion, the established religion of the New England colonies was Puritan. We did not have religious freedom here. The Puritans and the Pilgrims who formed this area originally were seeking religious freedom, but they did not allow anyone to practice a religion that wasn't that. So now we go down to the middle colonies. The middle colonies are Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and New York. The middle colonies were most ethnically and religiously diverse of the colonies. There was Polish, English, Dutch, French, and German origins. The climate is pretty hot, which allowed for a longer growing season than in New England. The geography of the middle colonies is hills and flat lands, and the soil is very good. So, in the middle colonies, economically, farming, large types of farming will be very popular. The natural resources of the middle colonies were iron, ore, and good soil. Religion, the middle colonies were a mixture. You have Quakers, led by William Penn. He will found Pennsylvania. Catholics, Lutherans, Jews, and others. Then we go to the third and final place, which is the southern colonies. So the southern colonies, Virginia, Maryland, North and South Carolina, and Georgia. The population were diverse, many European nationalities, and the climate in the South is the warmest. So therefore, they have the longest growing season. Farming or agriculture is going to be extremely important to this area. Religion did not have a large influence on the daily lives of Southern colonists, but many of them were Baptists, Anglicans. So you can see here with the colony's founding dates, the first colony founded is the colony of Virginia, founded in Jamestown in 1607. The second will be Massachusetts, founded by the Puritans in Boston. And then the other colonies are established over the next 130 or so years. As I said, the economies is really important and what I would like you to focus on. So your last guiding question on your guiding notes asks about the different economies. So New England, you're going to think ocean, okay? Manufacturing. So trade is very important. Lumber, shipbuilding. So we exported a lot of the things that we produced here in the New England colonies. In the middle and southern colonies, they're going to be largely agriculturally based. The South, especially because of its agriculture, it's going to require major sources of labor, which the new colonies did not have. So, this is where that middle passage that you learned about in the last lesson comes into play. We begin to import slaves as labor in order to continue to grow things on a plantation like focus. Plantations typically were large farms that focused on one or two cash crops like cotton, eventually, tobacco, rice. Those will be the big exports of the southern colonies. So make sure that you complete your guided notes. Focus again on those must do's and aspire to do the should do's. If you have any questions, please let me know.